What can I say at this point, guys? Good lord. Jujutsu Kaisen is insane, man. Alright, here's the thing. Here's the thing, guys. You hear all the time people say, oh man, just wait till you get to this part in the show. It's absolutely crazy. And they hype it up to the extreme. And you're always sitting there thinking, oh man, it can't be that crazy. When I get to it myself, I'll be the judge of if it's crazy or not. And most of the time, it doesn't live up to your expectations because other people set them so high that you never feel they meet them. Jujutsu Kaisen might be the one time I think people are right. This is insane. This was a movie. How do we go from a visually stunning episode like Jugo vs. Sukuna to another visually stunning episode, which I'd argue is on an even bigger scale than that? And that ending. We got a lot to talk about. There's a lot to talk about. I know there's another episode out now by the time you're watching this. The next episode is out. I've not watched it. Do not spoil me on it. But that ending better not be what I think it is. So let's get straight into it and talk about Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2, Episode 17 today, because it is insane. As our episode begins today, we go back to the very beginning, where the show started, as we hear Yuji. You're a strong kid, so help others. But as we transition back to Sukuna, we see that Yuji's not here right now. But before we get into that, we have to transition back over to Megami as we hear, in my 10 Shadows technique, only 2 demon dogs are granted to the user at first. The other Shikigami aren't granted to the user until they finish subjugating them. The user must continue subjugating each one to increase the Shikigami available to them, until they're finally able to command all 10 Shikigami. As we suddenly hear, oh, you done? You're really strong, just like that woman from earlier. As Shigemo says, you're all beat up, yet you give me no openings to get close. Though, with all that bleeding, I won't even have to do anything. As we see that Megami has finally collapsed here. As he continues from earlier and says, thing is, this subjugation can be done with multiple people. Though conducting the subjugation with multiple people voids it afterwards. Which means the ritual becomes pointless to the sorcerer themselves. But Megami's not really in the position to be picky here, as he says, still, even if it's pointless, there are ways to use it. And it's here Shigemo gets distracted by Sukuna's battle in the background. We see Megami had time to prepare the ritual. And says, while the Shikigami can't be used without first subjugating it, the user can summon them as many times as necessary to subjugate them. And in all of sorcerer history, there's never been anyone who managed to subjugate this one. And it's here we transition into a flashback as Gojo asks Megami, do you know why the Gojo clan and the Zenin clan are on bad terms? As Gojo says, I forgot when, but the heads of the clans at the time got serious during a spectated match. And they both died. As Gojo says, one was someone like me who possessed both the 6 eyes and the limitless technique. And the other used the same technique as you, Megami. As Gojo says, you understand what I'm getting at? Basically saying, you could surpass me, really. And as everything goes dark around Megami here, we hear, sacred treasure, swing and ring, ring. And immediately, Sukuna sensed what's happening, as he tells Urahime here, urgent business just came up. It won't be much longer until I'm free. Don't slack on our preparations. And as we transition back to Megami here, things are looking real dangerous. As Shigemo says, he tricked me. He's starting the ritual and he's forcing me to participate in the damn thing with him. Smart, honestly. As we hear 8-gripped sword. Divergent Scylla, divine general. Makora. And as this thing starts breaking free from its constraints, Megumi says, "I'm sorry, Itadori. I don't think I'll be seeing you again." As Megumi tells Shigemo, "I'll be dying first. Give it your best shot against this guy." As Makora sends him flying here. And now, Shigemo is left alone with Makora here. Just like we saw at the end of our previous episode. And right before he's about to die, we go over his technique again, which is interesting as we hear the technique of curse user Shigemo Haruta erases life's little daily miracles from his memory and stores them up. That stock manifests as the marking under his eyes. And when he's faced with a threat to his life, one miracle is released. However, he's unaware of this fact himself. As we see Sukuna, of all people, saved him here. But not for a good reason, obviously, as he looks at Megumi and says, "Suspended animation, huh? So saving this piece of trash really was the right move." He probably sucked this thing into the subjugation ritual along with him. Once this trash dies, the ritual will be complete. Then Megumi Fushiguro's death will be established as well. As he starts healing him, Sukuna says, "Don't die on me. There are things I need you to do for me." As he thinks for Megumi Fushiguro to survive, I'll have to defeat this Shikigami as an outsider and nullify his subjugation ritual. It's time for a tasting. And as our fight begins here, things are already intense as Sukuna dodges his attack here and says, "Dissect," and cuts Makora up. As they both send each other flying here. But Sukuna gets back up like nothing happened, drinking popcorn in hand too. Low-key a little insult to Itadori, I think. As he says, "That sword, it's the sword of exorcism, specialized in combating cursed spirits. It's packed with the same positive energy generated by a reverse cursed technique. If I was a cursed spirit, that would have eliminated me on the first blow." As he eats the popcorn that Yuji loves so much and says, "This shit tastes awful." But it's here. We start round 2. Makora slams his head into the wall, throws Sukuna, but Sukuna's loving every second of it. And as our fight continues, it keeps getting fiercer and fiercer. Sukuna's the one getting thrown around right now, testing the waters. As we see that Makora is relentless in his assault. But we see that Sukuna is easily keeping pace as the destruction spreads more and more. As we see the whole city become their playground. Cars, buildings, just toys for their fight. As we see Sukuna lands a slice on Makora's face, but then suddenly says, "You did something, didn't you?" as it healed. And I'll tell you guys now, I hate the fact that they showed all the people in hiding right here, because I just know what that really is going to entail. Lambs to the slaughter. As Sukuna's literally thrown into a building here filled with people, and in the process of their fight, everyone dies. As he suddenly says, "Well, that felt odd." And now it's Sukuna's turn to start manhandling, as we see Makora's about to use that technique again. As Sukuna says, "Again, huh?" As these two start flying through the air, destroying everything, as we see Sukuna's not fazed at all by this. The city and everyone in it is dying, but all that matters is the fight. And as trains are just flying through the air here, Makora attacks Sukuna as he says, "Cursed energy." As we see Makora takes a train, hits Sukuna with it, and then just tosses it into a building. As Sukuna realizes, "You can see it. You see my technique." But even after being thrown around, Makora is just fine. In fact, he's getting stronger. As we see the city in shambles, with Sukuna at the center, the conductor of the destruction. As we see Makora was pinned underwater by a giant tower here. But that definitely will not be enough to stop him. But it's here, Sukuna decides to get a bit more serious, as the entire city is turned into a hellscape again. As Sukuna says, "I knew it. You're similar to Yamata no Orochi. You follow my slices and attack with cursed energy. Both started happening after the great wheel revolved. The incantation of sacred treasures and that great wheel both represent perfect cycles of harmony, which suggests that this Shikigami's ability is to adapt to anything and everything. It's the ultimate late throw rock, paper, scissors. The ultimate trump card. You might have defeated me in the state I was in back then. Thinking about his first encounter with Megami. Now you fascinated me, Megami Fushiguro. And as our fight hits its apex here, we hear domain expansion. Malevolent kitchen. Sukuna's playing games no more. As we hear Sukuna's domain, malevolent kitchen, is unlike others in that it doesn't cut out a separate space with a barrier. Manifesting an innate domain without sealing it in a barrier is like trying to paint a picture in the air without a canvas. It's truly a divine feat. To top it off, by adding a pack to allow its victims a path of escape, it vastly increases the guaranteed hit effect to a maximum 200-meter radius. That is huge. That's bad. Though out of consideration for its effect on Megami Fushiguro, Sukuna is currently restrained the effect to 140 meteor radius, limited to the surface. Still huge. As we see Makora get eviscerated here, and throughout the city, we see the effects of his domain. As they got the nerve to show the survivors again, just so it hurts more when they're all eviscerated. As we hear, Sukuna's slices are comprised of two types. Fillet attacks things with cursed energy in a range of his guaranteed hit effect. Dissect attacks things without cursed energy. Both rain down endlessly upon everything until Malevolent Kitchen disappears. The only sure way to defeat Makora is to bury it with the first use of an attack before it can adapt. Fillet would have fulfilled those conditions, but that wouldn't have been the case if it had adapted to slices in general. Rather to dissect. Meaning he used his other ability as like a decoy so that he could take him out with this ability instead. Pretty damn smart. As we see that Shibuya is unrecognizable at this point. And it's here we see that throughout all of Tokyo, regardless of where you are, you're seeing what's happening in Shibuya right now. They're not going to be able to explain this away. It's like, oh, there's not supernatural entities in the world anymore. Bro, no way. As we hear, Makora is close to finishing its regeneration. As we see the city around them burning, falling apart, truly being eviscerated. And as Makora's burning, Sukuna prepares his final attack, as we hear again, Fuga. As all of Shibuya explodes here, the flames and destruction are immaculate. It is on an incomprehensible level in terms of Jujutsu Kaisen. As we see that Makora was defeated here, as his ring is on the ground. As Sukuna tells Shigemo, the hell are you looking at? Be gone. And it's here this man thinks he's had the luckiest day of his life. He starts running off like, man, I really am lucky. For another day, I survived. As we see his face falls off here. As we hear, Shigemo's stock of miracles had been exhausted in his battle with Kento Nanami. And he's dead. Which I'm happy about. This character kind of sucked low-key, so I'm happy he's gone. I guess we can give Nanami a little dub for that. And as we transition back to Sukuna, he realizes, my time in this body's almost up. As we see, he quickly drops Megami's body off with the principal here. As he says, I just saw Itadori for a moment. No. Was it Sukuna? And I'll say, I don't know how far out. I don't think they're in Shibuya. They're on the outskirts of it. How the hell can he say this shit? Did he not just witness what just happened throughout the city? Even from a distance, how do you not see that? I don't get that. Tell me in the comments how that makes sense. Because it doesn't to me. And as we transition back to Sukuna, he is a fucking asshole as he suddenly says, "Hey, brat, be sure to savor this." As he gives control of the body back to Yuji, and he sees the destruction around him. To say he's shook here is an understatement. He's downright traumatized. As all the memories of what just happened flood into his mind, all the people that were killed because of Sukuna, but also because of him. As he actually starts throwing up here, as he says, "Die. Only me. Die, damn it!" As the weight of all of this falls squarely onto him. As we see the giant crater that's been created in Shibuya. And as we pan around the city and we see all the destruction and death that was caused, Yuji says, "I have to go. I have to fight." As he looks like a broken man right here. As he says, "Otherwise, I'll just be a murderer." And as we transition to our final scene of the episode, we see Nanami doesn't look good at all. Literally looking like Two-Face here. And on that somber note, our episode ends. I don't like how that episode ended, guys. I don't like that. I'm not born yesterday, dude. I fucking hope that doesn't happen next episode. Like I said, I really don't know. I'm not joking, but they don't look good. This episode, though, this is insane. Sukuna is a god, essentially. He is a literal god at this point. Like, good lord. No one's stopping this man. No one is stopping him except for maybe Gojo. And even then, like, we haven't seen Gojo do feats to this extent, even though he probably could. But this shit is crazy, guys. Jujutsu Kaisen, dude. Living up to the expectations. And I saw so many people complaining about the animation. And I can't understand that, dude. Yeah, some scenes, when they're going by so quick, look a little rough. But I think, if anything, that makes it look good. It looks good. It adds, like, some personality to Jujutsu Kaisen, the animation. When characters are moving so fast, guys, when we're doing such ridiculous things, like throwing buildings around and all that, of course they're going to stretch the animation and make it look a little, I guess you would say janky, even though I don't think so. But I don't understand the hate for this, man. Jujutsu Kaisen has been an insanely good show this season, and I just see people complaining about it. Like, my God, ungrateful, dude. That's how I really feel. Just fucking wow. Amazing episode. Can't wait for the next one. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments, man. Whew. But until then, I hope you have a great day, week, month, and year. And I will see you guys in the next video. Deuces.